Hey folks, today we take a look at the SlimWave 1600. It's a little wave pump and it's upside down. It's a little wave pump, and we're going to unbox this and set it up inside the 43-gallon tank that's all coming up right after this. Hey YouTube, this is pecktec, and today we're going to add a little bit of circulation to this tank. This product here is actually sort of overkill for this particular aquarium, and mostly because it's got so many features. Features that usually you wouldn't put on maybe a freshwater tank. I don't have a saltwater tank. I think that this was probably a lot of these features were probably inspired by the needs of a saltwater tank. That doesn't mean that you couldn't put them on a freshwater tank. I don't see, there's not a lot of tidal flow that goes on inside of a freshwater scenario typically, you know, so you're not going to have tides and things like that to make waves. And that's really what this was engineered to do. This is a fascinating little product. Now, flow is important also in a freshwater aquarium, though. Detritus and other things can build up in little low flow areas of your tank, and it's really important to kind of to make sure that you've got a good amount of flow if that's the type of tank you're doing. You know, it'll help any tank. Sometimes you might have fish in there that don't want a little bit of extra flow. Nobody that I've gotten here is going to mind a little bit of extra flow in the tank, and I would really like to take something and put it behind my CO2 where the CO2 is distributed and kind of push those bubbles out throughout the tank. So that's kind of what I'm using it for. Now, typically in a freshwater scenario, you might use something like the Awaze, like this Awaze, but the profile on this, it sticks out a little too far for what I need it for, because I've got my CO2 all the way in the back. I want something that maybe is a lot slimmer. And so what we've got here is this 1600. This thing is very high tech. It's got a lot of different options on it. And I'm going to attempt to break it down a little bit. Now, as far as the actual settings, if you're watching this video because you've just bought one and you want to learn how to set it, I'm going to actually redirect you. I'm going to put, there's a link down in the description for Aquaman Knox that went through, he went through the entirety of operating this controller and setting it up and programming it and all the different settings. I'm going to breeze over a little bit of the functions that this does, just to kind of show you all the different cool things that it does. This is a really interesting wave maker. It comes in 4 different sizes. This is the smallest size. They all have magnets, and the magnets are also coated with this rubber, right? So that rubber is going to kind of keep it the noise down, and it's also going to keep it from, well, on the bigger models, they actually have little suction cups on here too, so it's sort of a secondary way to hold it down. But these things will keep from scratching the glass or, you know, making a big impact, but it'll also keep it yeah, a little bit quieter, I suppose, is what it says. So I'm going to open up this last bag here, and I'll show you everything that comes with it. Now, I've already done an unboxing of this, sort of, but just so you don't have to go back and see that video, I'm going to briefly go over all the stuff that comes in this box. Right, so we've got the wave maker itself, and looks like a very long cord. My guess is that this cord is, I would guess that this cord is about, this is about 6 feet long. I'll make a correction if my guess is wrong, but it looks like it's about 6 feet long, which is a good size. You've got the controller. It's got 2 shorter cords. This, of course, connects to the other end of the wave maker, and then we got what looks to be probably about a 5-foot power cord from there. We've also got a lot of these little adhesive cable guides These will be in some twist ties too, so you can probably run this cord through these things and then tie it down and make it a nice clean installation. We've got some suction cups that are made to hold this cord. So you could use these inside the tank to kind of guide this cord where you want it to go. There's some little extra feet, and you can actually see those. You can see those right here. It connects to the base here, and what that's going to do is it's going to fight that vibration and make it even quieter. So that's another quieting feature, and there's some extras there in case something happens to those. Then of course we got the twist ties to kind of go with these little cable tie wranglers. It also came with some Min-Max water level stickers and some stickers I can't read because I don't read that language. Yeah, I have no idea what these say. But, you know, Min-Max, the water levels, that's pretty easy to read. And you've got the instructions. These instructions are actually pretty clear as far as what they show you what all the settings mean. This thing is deceptively complicated. It has a lot of different wave functions. In fact, I believe it has 4 different. It's got 4 different wave functions. It's got the classic wave, which is sort of a pulse, which is going to be all the way on, all the way off, all the way on, all the way off, all the way on, all the way off, just like that. It's also got what they call a nutrition transfer wave, which gradually on till it's at max, and then gradually off, then gradually on till it's max, and then gradually off. It's got a consistent stream, which is just it full out, you know, whatever power setting you set it for, just running straight with no off at all. And then it's got random mode, which just looks like random, you know, so it's going on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. It's kind of, it's funny because even the way it's depicted in the instructions is definitely random. So this is small enough to fit right behind where my CO2 is. And so what I'm going to do is, what I'm going to do at first, just to demonstrate this, is I'm going to put it kind of high up on the tank, much higher up than you could typically see. And we'll go through the settings and kind of demonstrate some of the weird settings that this has. Okay. All right, so now I've got it plugged in. You can see it there. I've got it too high. They recommend that this is at least 8 inches down below the surface. I got it up high so you can kind of see the water effects. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn on the other camera. So I've got a camera too kind of pointed at the top of the water. You can see it a little bit there, but I want the focus on this camera to be the controller. So let's take a quick look at the controller for this. As you can see, it's real simple plug-in. You got your power on one side, and this goes to the actual turbine over there. It's got a nice little handy hook, so if you want to store this someplace with inside your cabinet with a little hook, I'll probably put a little command hook or something in there, and a nice hard plastic shell. I thought this was going to be rubberized, like when I held it at first, and it doesn't really feel rubberized. It's kind of a hard plastic, but nice and sturdy. This interface here is kind of a weird. Well, it's this reflective material, so it's sort of hard to film. But I'm going to show you, I'll show you how it works best I can. All right, so let's look at the controls real quick, and then we'll kind of get to this interface a little bit more. This is the set button. This is the move button. This is, of course, plus. You can tell because it's a plus. And this is the feed button. The feed button is probably the easiest one to understand. It interrupts whatever program's going, and it puts in a 10-minute timer. So basically the pump will just stop moving for 10 minutes if you want to add some food and not have it get blown all over the place. And you can override it if you're done feeding and everybody's eaten and you want to start it up again by just hitting the F button again. If you hit the S button, it shows you the current settings. Their settings are kind of unusual. I've never really seen anything like this. It's got this 4-digit code. And the 4-digit code breaks down a couple of things. So the first one is the time of day. This has 5 times of day. Basically, it's got dawn, sunrise, day, sunset, and night. And this tells you that we're in the sunset phase because I've already set the clock. So if you hit the M button here, you'll see that, and if you keep hitting it, it'll go to the different things. So if I hit it once, and I pick that, and then I hit the S button, it'll tell me what time of day it's set at. Then I could hit it again, and it's in 24-hour time, or military time to some people. So that basically translates to 3:44 in the afternoon, which puts us right in the sunset range. If you don't touch it anymore, then it will just kind of stop blinking, and you'll know that it's set. You can go back to the settings here. So if you keep pushing this this M, it'll go to the next. It goes to the next thing, and what you can do is you can set the time of day. You can set that time zone for the different times of day, and then you can set the second one here. And the second one is the power. So that's the power rating, or the amount of power that's going to be going to this thing. It's broken down into 4 sections. So it's 1 through 4 are your options there. 1 is 40%, 2 is 60%, 3 is 80%, and 4, like you see now, is 100%. The next thing here you've got is the wave mode. That's the 3rd digit on here. And the wave mode is really interesting. It's got, again, 4 different choices. You've got the classic wave mode. You've got the nutrition transfer that kind of gradually goes up. And it's the same as the classic wave mode, but the wave mode is kind of like all the way on, then all the way off, all the way on, all the way off. The nutrition transfer is like it gradually goes all the way up and then gradually goes all the way down. So it's a much more gradual version of the classic mode. If this were on 3, it would be constant, where it's always the same, determined by your power level and stuff. And the last number there is the frequency with which it happens. So you can set up for 1 being a very high frequency. So it's like if you're doing the wave mode, let's say, or the classic wave mode, and you put this on 1, and it would blast it, go off, blast it, go off, blast it, go off. And then the opposite, like this goes to 8, and then that would be blast it, wait a bit, blast it, wait a bit. So you can kind of get an idea of that. Very configurable as far as what's happening. Of course, these lights are demonstrating right now. So right now it's in the nutrition wave mode, and you can see how it's just kind of gradually getting more powerful, then gradually going back down. This comes factory preset for all these different times of day and what they do during those times of day. So to use this in the most basic way, like if you didn't have a lot of time to sit and decide what you wanted for the different times of day, you can just plug this in, set the time by hitting the M, then the S because it's in the first section, hitting that M again, which indicates that it's going to change, going up and down with the plus arrow, and deciding what you want. Then you let it sit for a second, and then it'll set. Now, what you can also do is let's say you don't like the factory settings that it's got. You can hit the M button, and then hit M again. And now what you're going to do is like, well, when it's in the sunset thing, I want to set the power to be a little bit less or more, maybe. So we're going to hit that. I can go like this and make it really weak. So now when the power comes on at sunset, it's only going to be at 40%. And you could do the same for the other functions too. You just make sure that this is in that zone. So instead of setting a specific time to do a specific thing, you set it within these time zones to work and function the different ways that you want it to work. So it's not super granular, but there are 5 different options here. And it just depends on your personal preference for what you want to use it for. I imagine the saltwater guys have kind of a high tide, low tide kind of thing that they might want to emulate. And you can use this to sort of emulate those weird tidal flows and stuff that happen. It's definitely much more complicated than what I've typically used, which is just something that you just power on. You just kind of turn the thing on, and that was what it does. Uh, huge difference. Huge difference in this power flow. Well, go ahead and turn that back up. Yeah, you can really visually see that it's quite a bit different. So yeah, I can just kind of up the time a little bit. Let it go, and you'll see that now it's doing the more the classic wave, where it's going up and then down, and up and down. What's the power on that? And that's at full power. So you see it's in the fifth. So what is that? So now we're in night mode. It's full power. It's on the classic wave, which is going all the way off and all the way on. And it's at 8, which is the lowest frequency. So if I wanted to really make some waves, I could go all the way to this 8, switch it to 1. And now we can see major waves happening. Probably too much for this tank, especially with it that high and stuff. But really interesting. That's sort of the classic wave. So if you want to rock the boat a little bit, that's the way it works. So as you can see, we got the CO2 bubbling there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this kind of right above it or right next to it, I guess. I'm going to stick the magnet on the other side just to hold it in place. And that should be a good way to push those bubbles around. You can see the bubbles are going right into it. Go ahead and grab that power cord, plug it in. And now, as you can see, it's kind of just push those bubbles around and kind of keep them in the tank a little bit further or a little bit longer, which is what we ultimately want to do, just to make sure that CO2 gets passed around. And it's going to give me a little bit of extra circulation in this tank. I do have it directly behind that, where the spout pours out of the canister filter. So the water basically is going to go the same direction, but I guess it'll just seem more powerful. And of course, we'll have this little bursts of energy. I think right now it's in that classic wave mode. So it's just kind of it's really pounding through there. I'm not really seeing much at the top of the water. Maybe just a little bit of movement, but not like big waves or anything here at the top of the water. So I think that that's going to work. It's going to work and be an interesting addition to this tank. I'll be sure to follow up and let you know if there's any problems or any issues, but very cool wave maker. And that's it. The SlimWave 1600 is all installed. I'm real impressed with the features on this. I think it might be probably overkill for a freshwater tank, like I said before. Really great options for you saltwater folks, though. I do like that it does the different things. This is the tank that I've put every bit of technology that I've come across. Anything that's a little bit more than basic, anything that's a little bit extra, I've put on here. From really old school stuff like the undergravel filter that's modified with the glassware and stuff for the canister filter, to the fluval UV sterilizer that's connected to it, and of course the Wase canister filter with a built-in heater and stuff. That's all integrated into this tank. We got the Kessel lights with the controller and stuff like that. Low iron glass for the tank itself. So what other tank would I stick something as interesting and versatile as this thing on? Right now I can see it. It's blowing those bubbles all around. The fish really seem to enjoy the little bursts of energy. I see them in the flow here swimming around and stuff, so they obviously think it's neat. I'm going to go ahead and take this other one, the Wase, and I'm going to swap out the Siche one that I've got on there. this comes with a magnet feature too, so I've ordered the magnet for that, so I'm not going to do it right now. But I've ordered the magnet for this, and when that comes in, I'm going to swap that out over there, and I'll let you know how both of those things go over time. Huge thank you to my Patreons. I really appreciate your guys' help. I'm about to post a list for the Series 2 of the Water Change Companion. Of course, if you see, some people may talk about it on their channels and stuff already, but I'm about to post on there, and I'm going to unveil who my next set of guests are going to be. I've already started recording the episodes. I think that they're going to be good. We're going outside the box for a couple of different people, some that I haven't seen a lot of interviews with at all, although they all deserve them. But I'm currently recording that, and you can probably look for the Series 2 to start around June. I can't decide if I want to do 4 episodes or 5 episodes again. I'm going for 5, but there might be 4. I guess it depends on how well I can schedule people in. I also wanted to tell you that at the end of this month, I'm doing something. I participated in something called the Vivarium Challenge. This is with custom cages. You might know them from like custom aquariums, and custom cages are kind of umbrellaed into one company. And also Josh's Frogs is another sponsor. So you can look up hashtag Vivarium Challenge. I'll be posting a little teasers and stuff about that. And I'll probably start those videos off. I don't know if I'll do it next week or the week after. They had a very specific day that they wanted me to post the vivarium. I think it was like the 31st of this month. But I've done some other stuff. Like I have like 3 videos worth of video for the setup for this thing. And I don't want to drag it out that long. So there'll probably be one really long video about how I made the vivarium on that particular day. I could probably break it into 2 segments, but Kerrigan and I also went to a reptile show and bought a lizard. So I think that'll be an interesting video, and kind of compare contrast what it's like to go buy fish at a show or buy lizard. It was a very different experience for me, and some of it might have been COVID, and some of it might have been just the different genre, but I'll fill you in on that in a little bit. So until we meet again, follow your bliss, keep a clean tank, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. I'll show you all the functions and stuff that it does and kind of breeze over it a little bit so you get an idea for if basically I'm going to breeze over somebody's mowing the lawn again. Hey folks, today we're going to take a look at the